Welcome to this explainer. Okay, if you're gearing up for competitive exams like the CAT, GMAT, XAT, or maybe Bank PO, there's a very good chance you absolutely dread the reading comprehension section. It's a notoriously tough hurdle, but the source material we're digging into today, it completely flips the script. It frames reading comprehension not as some deep test of your literary appreciation, but as a high-stakes information extraction game. It's an incredibly fascinating perspective, and honestly, it's a real game changer for how we approach these huge, intimidating blocks of text.
So, that brings us to the ultimate question. Can you actually crack reading comprehension without being an avid reader? Well, the surprising answer we found is absolutely, yes. In fact, if you don't have that reading stamina, if you can't get lost in beautiful, flowing sentences, that is actually framed here as a massive tactical advantage. You're coming in with a blank slate. You are completely free from the bad habit of overreading, which means we can train you to be highly, highly efficient. Instead of getting bogged down in the narrative, you get to focus entirely on the mechanics of the test itself. Here is your mission briefing for today's explainer. We're going to cover the non-reader's advantage, the SCANS framework, the elimination toolkit, your 4-week training plan, and finally, the exam day golden rules. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the non-reader's advantage, focusing on that crucial mindset shift. Before we even touch tactics, the material insists you have to change your identity. Seriously, drop the reader persona entirely and adopt the mindset of a detective. You see, the traditional myth tells us that we have to read every single word carefully, operating under this assumption that 100% understanding equals 100% accuracy. But that's just not true. The reality is, you're a detective. You're scanning a crime scene for evidence. The structural flow and the logic of the text, those drastically outweigh the granular, minute details that always end up distracting traditional readers. And this leads us to a rather shocking reality. 40 to 50%. That's it. You essentially only need to read about half of the passage to answer 80% of the questions perfectly. You absolutely do not need to read the whole text to win this game. The rest of the passage is usually just filler, right? Elaborate examples, lists, little tangents that aren't actually tied to the core questions you'll be evaluated on.
Moving right along to Section 2, the SCANS framework. Think of this as the detective's protocol. Okay, listen up, because this is the most vital warning in this entire protocol. Never, ever read the passage first. Don't do it. The methodology breaks down into 5 steps, and it plays out a lot like a high-stakes heist plan where every single second counts. Step 1, scan the questions. You get 30 seconds. Step 2, chunk the passage for 2 minutes. Step 3, annotate marginally for 30 seconds. Step 4, navigate back for 15 seconds. And Step 5, solve via elimination for 45 seconds. Having this rigid structure completely removes the guesswork and forces you to keep moving forward. Let's dive deeper into Step 1. Your goal here is to become a pattern-seeking missile by scanning the questions first. And depending on the question type, your whole strategy shifts. For a fact question, just find the key word and read 2 lines around it. For an inference question, you're hunting for direct support in the text. Main idea questions mean you only really need to check the first and last paragraph. And tone questions, just rely on spotting emotional words. By reading only the question stems first, you know exactly where to hunt. Then we hit Step 2, which is chunking. Now, non-readers usually panic and try to read super slowly, word by word. But this approach, it has you group 3 to 4 words together at a single glance. Doing this smooths out your visual tracking and builds the speed you absolutely need to beat that strict 2-minute reading timer without panicking. It essentially trains your brain to process whole phrases and concepts rather than disconnected words. It's a massive boost to your speed and your overall structural comprehension. While you're chunking, there's specific essential intel you need to capture. Keep your radar on high alert for the first sentence of each paragraph, contrast words like however or but, conclusion indicators like therefore, and any signals of the author's opinion, like the word surprisingly. And notice what's absent here: the fluff. You must aggressively ignore lists, minor examples, and specific dates, unless, of course, your initial scan specifically told you to look for them. These structural signposts tell you exactly how the author's argument is moving, and you don't need to understand every single data point to see it. Step 3 is marginal annotation. This means pausing for literally 5 seconds after a paragraph to jot down just 1 or 2 words. For example, industrial revolution positive, or but environmental damage. You're just creating a rapid mental map. The overarching principle to remember is this: if you cannot summarize a paragraph's core point in 1 or 2 words, you've missed its structural purpose. This step is all about mapping out where the information lives, not trying to memorize what the information actually is.
All right, Section 3, the Elimination Toolkit. It's time to assassinate the wrong answers. Once you've navigated back to the text, your focus completely shifts. Instead of desperately trying to find the correct answer, your strategy is to methodically destroy the wrong ones using a 4-part toolkit. You want to rapidly eliminate options that are out of scope, the opposite of the text, use extreme language, or are just too narrow. Honestly, if an option relies on absolute words like always, never, or completely, it is almost certainly a trap. Passages almost never take positions that extreme.
And here is the ultimate non-reader secret for fact-based questions. The correct answer usually hides as a paraphrase. It uses different words but has the exact same meaning. Trap options, on the other hand, will bait you with verbatim, exact words pulled right from the passage, but they'll subtly twist the underlying logic. The trick is to match the meaning, not the specific vocabulary. The test makers know exactly what you're looking for, and they will absolutely weaponize those familiar words against you.
Section 4, your 4-week training plan. Let's talk about building that stamina. To transition from theory to execution, you need a strict regimen to literally rewire your brain. Week 1 is all about 15-second chunking drills to boost your baseline reading speed from 150 up to 250 words per minute. Then, Week 2 shifts over to annotation practice, strictly building that mental mapping habit. Week 3 introduces elimination-only drills. This is crazy. You don't even read the passages. You just kill options purely based on extreme language and logic. Finally, Week 4 culminates in intense 30-minute full mock exams using the whole framework.
Section 5, Exam Day Golden Rules. This is your final briefing.
When you are actually in the exam hall under immense pressure, the source material lays out 5 undeniable rules of engagement. Number 1, never read the passage first. Start with the questions. Number 2, stop reading after exactly 2 minutes. Leaving a passage half read at the buzzer? That's actually a strategic victory, not a failure. Number 3, if you're in doubt, eliminate based on logic. Number 4, cap fact questions at 30 seconds maximum. And number 5, if you're running low on time, just skip the inference questions entirely. They are massive time sinks. The material wraps up with this incredibly powerful mantra. I am not here to understand. I am here to answer questions. The passage is evidence, not literature. By treating the exam like a detective solving a case instead of a student studying a book, being a non-reader transforms from your biggest weakness into a massive strategic advantage. But looking at this whole methodology leaves us with a pretty wild thought. If standard reading comprehension was never actually about reading at all, what other standardized tests have we been entirely misunderstanding this whole time?